Well, hello everyone. Welcome to Formula G, the first season of this format for competitive GeoGuessr. My name is Zotomo, and I'm joined by Calamity. How are you?
Hello, I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great. A very interesting week to get us started. We had a team test event to rank everybody for the week one in Australia. So we were in Spain this week. So I think our format we're going to go with for this is we're going to start off by looking at the locations in the event. So here we are. Here's the map with those seeds in them. Do you want to go just round by round here,
Yeah,
Calamity?
I think so. Um,
Okay, so round one, island.
yeah. Uh, Spain in general is not that hard of a country, and if you've got 5 minutes as well, you should normally be able to find most of the locations. Round one threw
Mhm.
us a curveball though with Minorca, but as you can, well, you probably can't see in the results, but uh, pretty much everyone except for Max got that round, I think, or at least knew we were on the island. Couple points lost here and there.
Mhm.
Uh, yeah, it was pretty easy rounds, especially to pinpoint as well. Once you found out that we are on Minorca, because the city itself is not that big. Um, Anything you want to say about the rounds as well, or do you just want me to go through all of them?
Yeah, I mean, I did play it as a reserve driver, just in case, and I think I got lost on a street for a while, and I didn't see enough of the coastline. I
Mm,
should have followed it all the way around and realized it was an island. But it was really weird because I saw a lot of ocean to the west, and in Spain, there's not a lot of ocean to the west
mm,
in a southern area. So I was like, wait a minute, am I like west of Gibraltar or I'm? And it didn't actually occur to me at all that it was an island. I just
mm.
the time I was playing didn't hit me. But yeah, a bit of a curveball, but I get like you said, most drivers were able to find it, so not too bad. So yeah.
Then went on to round two, which was our only location this time in the more deserty parts of Spain,
Yeah.
somewhere between Jaén and Murcia. Relatively easy to find if you went west, I think it was, because right there was listed multiple different road numbers, I think, and some of the bigger cities in the area, like 20 and 40 kilometers away. I think it was 40 to Baja or Baza, however you want
Mhm.
to pronounce that, south of it. So again, a relatively easy round to find, and everyone in the top 15. If you only take the competitors, not the other people who played, everyone in the top 14 managed to 5k that round. So again, not too difficult.
Yeah, I don't remember which way I went, but I did see a big sign with town names in Andalusia. So
Mm,
it also gave you a pretty good starting point of where to even look in terms of the region name of Spain. That
mm,
was helpful for sure to find those smaller town names and road numbers. So yeah,
mm.
pretty easy round. Probably the easiest round of them all, uh,
Yeah,
in my
probably
opinion. But
competing with round one.
mm,
But yeah,
if you even remember that there's islands included in this
yep.
map, yes, tie with round one.
Mm,
But yeah, round three though, very interesting. Right, almost smack dab on the border with France in the
mm.
mountains.
That look
So
like that general area is relatively, I wouldn't say easy, but it's one of the easier parts of Spain to tell apart, apart from
yeah.
the desert-like area down in the south, central south. In this case, probably the easiest method of finding it was just going a bit and then finding a sign that said N135. And generally, the N roads in Spain, especially again, if you've got 5 minutes, you can just search the map for them. And the N135 isn't very long. It just covers like about 20 to 30 kilometers in the north of Spain there.
Yeah.
So searching for the right town name again, not that difficult.
Mhm. Yeah.
But actually,
Round. Sorry.
one more thing to say for that. There was actually a lot of people here that messed up pinpointing on that though.
Mm.
They were like, wait, let me just quickly count: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, 10 people who messed up on pinpointing that location, which is pretty interesting to me.
Yeah. We'll get into it a little bit, but I didn't get to the pinpointing stage of the round. But the road, well, as you said, was pretty short and pretty obviously located as well, so it wasn't too hard to find. But
Mm,
round four, yeah, again, not definitely mountains and towards the southern end, obvious from the geography of the spawn.
mm. Again, here I just found eventually because we were placed on a highway,
Hmm.
so I just found signs for the N630, and we were close to the exit to Santiago del Campo. So I just scrolled along the N630, and I think I don't remember full. Oh yeah, there was also a sign for an EX road, so for Extremadura. So I
Yes.
just scanned the N630 in that state to find it. It was not that hard, and again, we were placed right on top of almost like a, what do you say, like a road that went under the highway. Uh,
Underpass.
yeah, an underpass.
Yeah.
So that was easy
Mm.
to pinpoint as well.
Yeah. Very nice. And then round five,
Round five was
again, mountainous a little bit.
yeah, it was a
So
bit
point you
mountainous.
towards the
You're right.
north. Yeah.
That was probably the worst round for almost everyone,
Mhm.
um, because there was not a lot of information to go off, and well, there was a lot technically, but it was relatively confusing, because usually, um, the smaller roads in Spain, the state roads, are named after the state they're in, and there
Except,
are there are some exceptions to this. Generally, a lot of roads around bigger cities have some other names. For example, I know off the top of my head, for example, Zaragoza has some Z roads surrounding it. And apparently, so does the city of Lugo. I assume at least that's what it is because the road was called LU, dash and then some numbers. And there was also the CJ road, which also didn't particularly help me finding it. So yeah, and at least the way I went, there was no other real information or real clues helping me until I think I eventually hit a sign that told me we're near the N540, but at that point it was too late.
yeah, a couple people commented in the Reddit that if you had gone south, you saw very little information, and heading north was the much better direction to go. And it did save a few people turning around and just finding something with a few seconds left to save their games from complete disaster.
Mm,
But yeah, probably the most tricky of the locations
yeah,
for
definitely.
sure. It does seem to be like the northern part of Spain does that weird city over state kind of numbering system. If you're in the south, it's almost always going to be the state. But towards the north, for sure, like Zaragoza and um, is it Galicia or area? Is that the state?
Yeah, Galicia.
Or, yeah, Galicia. That's it. In that northwest corner that has it. That's very prevalent. So that can be tricky,
Mm,
as you mentioned. Yeah, but let's take a look at actual results and some scores from this test event for the drivers. So as you can see, three perfect scores and four almost perfect scores, only 1 point off for those drivers. So yeah, as you mentioned, a pretty easygoing seed for this test event.
I knew it. Oberhausen Sport is going to be OP.
Yeah, two players in the top three, so they definitely earned some points for their team going into round week one, rather. Anything that really stands out to you besides that
It's always
for
difficult.
individual
Yeah,
drivers?
it's always difficult to judge how well people will do on a very easy game, such as having 5 minutes for Spain. I'm looking forward
Mm.
to seeing how that develops in more difficult games, like for example the Russia one, or what else do we have that might not be that easy? Let me have a quick look at the calendar. Australia next week is also going to be fun to see.
Yeah, yeah.
Maybe even Brazil in week 4. But as such, like one mistake will completely throw you out of any chance of getting a good position. I am a bit surprised at how, I say, poor, but Casa Rivazza, I expected more from M the Baseman, but
Mhm.
also wait, where Octane, Steel's Nick and Deep Fault. which
Yeah.
I mentioned as sort of my dark horse pick, I think, in our introduction with 8th and 16th place. Not really getting very many points to start with. And Nordhagen, 18th and basically a not start for Clutch Airball.
Yeah.
Also not going very well to start off the season.
Yeah, we did have two players who failed to show up and play the seats. They are marked as retired, meaning they didn't even play. So they're on a warning already. But I do believe it's pretty lenient in this format in terms of replacing them. So hopefully they'll be here next week. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Deep Thought probably further down the table than I would have expected from him, as well as M the Baseman. You and Tall and Paul are right next to each other. It makes sense to me. You two tend to be in the same area in general. And some of those players who did really well in qualifying, Berryfish Bear and Jack E562, showing that it wasn't a fluke, that at least in Spain, they're able to continue that form over into the test event. So, yeah. And so let's look at the points the players earn from those standings. As you can see, Closed and Simi picking up a big chunk of points there between them. I'm dropping off you and Tom Paula just slipping into the bottom there table, getting 1 and 2 points for you yourselves there.
Yeah, it always feels better to just get a couple of points, even if like in the grand scheme of things, it's probably not going to matter if you've got 2 points more or less. But it just feels nicer than getting nothing for it.
Yeah, at least you picked up something. But again, half the table not picking up anything. I think only 2 teams didn't get any points at all, which is Nordhagen and Opava. So we'll see that as we get on to the constructor standings. So there's 2 competitions going on here. There's an individual driver competition, who's the best driver in the series, but also the constructor comp. So the teams are trying to be the best team overall in the pairs. So we have 2 standings for you in this format. Oberhausen, as we already mentioned, picking up 40 points, already twice as far ahead as any other competitor, with Skenstrom MRT in second with 21. Casa Rivera, although had a kind of an off showing for their players, still managed to pick up 13 points. Probably the surprise here, Bamberg, 1 driver not even registering, but still picking up 10 points. But then, of course, Nordhagen and Opava with 0. So,
yeah. I actually just thought of something that would be really fun, because you brought it up, like constructor standings, teams are important. I thought it would be really fun to have like a general team manager for each of the teams and have them like almost like negotiate contracts and stuff like that between seasons and try to buy drivers off of other teams and that.
Yeah.
But I don't think we'd have enough people for that. Maybe Ben could handle it all on his own.
Yeah, he negotiates with himself over the price of drivers or something. Because I think like some fantasy games, like there's fantasy everything, right? So there's fantasy Formula One, right? So the players, I think after this season, we could ascribe a value to them, and as well as come up with some values for newcomers, and then have a draft pool where 10 groups or 10 pairs get to decide on teammates and whatnot and try to do a draft event live. That would be pretty fun.
Yeah.
So
Ben, if you're watching this, something fun for you to think about.
Yeah. We would love things like that. That would just add a lot of glamour and just kind of, extra pizzazz to some stuff like this.
The Formula G silly season.
Something like that. Yeah. Okay, well, let's finish off by just previewing a bit about the map they'll be facing off in week 1. It is Australia. The full name for this is Australia. I believe it's balanced by state and region or something like that.
Territories and areas, yeah, almost.
Territories and areas, not states. That's right, territories and areas. By Radox, 1988, a new moderator on the Reddit forum. So a shout out to you, Radox. Congrats on that. The average score on this map is 16,157. It's been played a tad over 300 times with over 500 locations. And the sprint maps are going to be custom made by Ben each time. So there's only going to be 5 locations in the entire maps. Everybody will have the exact same locations,
Mhm.
but they'll have different time limits, according in reverse order of their placing in the feature race from the previous week.
Yeah, I even went ahead and asked Ben about a bit about how he would choose the locations, and he said they'd all be pinpointable. Some may be obvious famous places, some may require a bit more detective work, but the locations will be handpicked and not random to ensure it's enjoyable and pinpointable.
Nice.
Quote
Yeah, and
end.
they are quoted, and they are in the city of Melbourne. I
Yeah,
think I forgot to mention
Melbourne.
that. It's not in all of Australia. It is Melbourne itself. So a very small map, which means even a couple
Mm.
dozen meters off is going to cost you quite a bit of points. So
Yeah, it's not a very big map, but if you haven't looked at a map in a while or haven't looked at the city of Melbourne before, it's pretty huge. Um, so it's definitely not just a question of, oh, I'm here, let's just put it on the map and there's a place. Um, is there anything of a similar size that I could compare it to? Probably
I don't
not.
know Australian cities. I'm sorry.
No,
Like, how
it's
big
it's
is Melbourne in
it's got
size? I
it's
have
got
no
5
idea.
million people in it, so that should give you a rough estimate of how big it has to be. But the one
Yeah.
the one advantage you do have is if you happen to be closer to Port Phillip Bay, you might be able to pinpoint based on which direction of the water you're facing, or from which direction you're facing the water.
Okay.
There's
Very
also
nice.
like a lot of different like smaller districts, I want to say. I haven't had the time to look into it and see how often you see those names around, but
Mhm.
those might also help you a lot when trying to pinpoint.
Great. So definitely shaping up to be a very exciting start, official start of race week 1 next week in Australia for Formula G. And so we'll see you all next time. Take care.
Bye.